My name is Ron Winegar, and I am the Chief of Police for the Boise Police Department. And thank you for coming and for participating with us today. I just would like to provide some information for our community and for you at this time related to an incident that took place in downtown Boise last Saturday morning involving a subject who was shot by a Boise police officer. Saturday's shooting in downtown Boise was a tragedy for the Wasson family. It was a tragedy for everyone who witnessed that incident, everyone who was involved, including a tragedy for our community at large. We are committed to investigating what happened and to ensuring that there is integrity and accountability in the process. And from a human standpoint, if this incident or an incident similar to this involved a member of my family, I would certainly want more information, and I would like to have that information as quickly as possible. My heart goes out to the Wasson family, to their friends, and to our community in general during this difficult time. We proactively at Boise Police release body camera footage or video as soon as it's available to be released. We've released body camera videos for incidents similar to this in the past, and it's always months after the incident when we can do that, and this has not changed. So we will unfortunately not be able to provide you body camera footage from the incident at this time, but know that it is our intention to do so when it is available for release. As the specifics of what happened that night are part of an ongoing critical incident task force investigation, I'm not able to confirm details that have not been provided as available for release by the critical incident task force, but I can give you some information and confirm some details at this time with this brief summary. At approximately 1 a.m. Saturday morning, near 5th and Idaho in downtown Boise, Boise police officers were investigating a situation involving individuals and a vehicle involved in what the officers believed were gang activity and/or narcotics sales. Officers identified the owner of the involved vehicle as Mario Garza. Garza's probation and parole officer requested that Boise police conduct a search of Garza's vehicle and person. At approximately 2:12 a.m., officers attempted to contact Garza and a second suspect when they returned to that vehicle. Upon attempted contact, the second suspect fled on foot. Officers observed him with a firearm in his hand. Garza was detained, and during a search of his person, he was found to be in possession of fentanyl pills. He was arrested and booked into the Ada County Jail for felony possession of a controlled substance. Any more information regarding his charges at this time will be made available during the court process and not directly from the Boise Police Department. When the second suspect ran away with a firearm visible in his hand down 5th Street, officers chased him and gave commands for him to stop, which were disregarded. Again, while the investigation into this incident is still underway, what I can say is one BPD officer fired his duty weapon. The suspect was struck and injured. A firearm was recovered next to the suspect. Officers immediately began first aid and life-saving measures while others secured the scene, and Ada County paramedics ultimately transported the suspect to a local hospital with life-threatening injuries, and the suspect, Peyton Wasson, later died at the hospital. All these details are preliminary. Pending the CITF investigation's completion, Ada County Sheriff's Office is the lead agency in that investigation, and I would refer any other questions regarding details of the investigation to that entity. But at this time, and I guess more importantly in my mind, my heart goes out to the Wasson family. We cannot bring someone back who has been killed, but we can ensure integrity and accountability in the processes and in the investigations that ensue, and we are absolutely committed to doing that. And we will provide information as it becomes available for release. Once again, the Critical Incident Task Force is primarily responsible for that after this point. I would be happy to answer a few questions if you have them, knowing that I have truly provided about as many details on the incident as I am able at this time.
Chief, can you talk about the task force and how they go about something like this?
Sure. When there is an incident of this magnitude, when there is an officer-involved shooting, then the process that we have in place and have had in place for many years, a couple of decades or more in Ada County, is that the police agencies not involved in that incident, one of them takes the lead and other agencies support with detectives to gather, collect, analyze, and process all of the evidence available. That may include things like physical evidence from a scene, shell casings, clothing, all of the things that might be present and involved in an investigation that we need to know about. That also includes video footage from a variety of sources, including body cameras that officers may be wearing, or other video footage that may be available from bystanders, from camera doorbells, things of those kinds. So all of that information must be gathered, must be processed and analyzed, and then there is the subject of interviews. So the Ada County Critical Incident Task Force detectives will conduct interviews of all involved officers, all involved witnesses, all witness officers, and anyone else who may have information relating to the incident, and that includes before, during, and after the incident. They will interview folks who have information, and in fact, I would encourage anyone who has information in this incident to please contact the Ada County Sheriff's Office through dispatch and give that information to them, because they are tasked with and responsible for a thorough, complete investigation, and we must give them the time to do that because sometimes it is a lengthy process. However, I would say at this time, it is in everyone's best interest that the Boise Police Department conduct its own thorough internal investigation into these matters, and we regularly do that. However, it has been of a more recent nature that we have begun those investigations relatively quickly after an incident happens. In days past, we would often wait for the criminal investigation to be wrapped up, but we have taken steps recently to make sure that we begin our internal investigation very quickly after the incident happens so that it can be conducted somewhat simultaneously with the criminal investigation that the CITF task force is conducting.
Why that change? Why move that up? And then can you also say, was this individual known to the police?
Let me answer the first question first. Why the change? It is a change necessary, I believe, as we endeavor to have transparency and accountability and trust in our police department from our members of our community. I think it's absolutely necessary that we conduct those investigations quickly and thoroughly, and the sooner we can get questions answered, sometimes critical questions answered about what happened, the better we are as an agency so that we can provide the types of service that we need to our community, and they can have faith in the investigative process, number one, and more importantly, the officers that are patrolling in our cities, in our neighborhoods within our city, and interacting with our community on a daily basis. So that's the why behind it. It's something that I saw was necessary and felt was very necessary as I came back into this role in the last few months. And so that change is in place, and not just in this instance, but we have begun those investigations more quickly. The second question you had was the subject known to police? I guess I probably can't comment on too much of that, other than I would say I do not believe the officers knew the subject's identity when they tried to make contact with him at that moment. But again, that's very preliminary, and I do not know that definitively at this time.
Peyton Lawson was shot in the back of the head, is that correct?
My understanding is that Peyton Wasson suffered a gunshot wound to the head. I do not know exactly where on the body or in the head that gunshot wound entered.
How are your officers trained to handle situations like this? Did that adhere to protocol?
Again, that's part of the investigative process, and it's very early for me to be able to comment on whether processes and policies were followed or not. That is really the purpose of the internal investigation, and so we will be determining that, but I do not have information at this time related to that question.
Can you tell us what threat he posed to the public for an officer to make that kind of action?
Make which kind of an action? To contact him?
Yes.
So I would just refer to the earlier statements as to why they were contacted and why the officers attempted to make contact. And then as far as commenting on a danger in a crowded downtown area, which Boise is at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning, anyone running from police with a gun in their hand would be of concern.
And then was that gun, was that his own gun, or was that Mario Garza's gun? Or were they separate?
Again, that's one of those questions that must be answered through the investigation.
Did Watson point his gun at officers or threaten anyone at the scene in any way?
Again, that is one of the things that will be asked by investigators and answered through evidence, through interviews, through a review of body camera footage, and all of those things put together. So I would refer you to the Critical Incident Task Force for those types of questions beyond what I have already shared
Have
today.
you heard anything so far on that issue?
I've shared everything I have
Okay.
heard.
Is BPD aware of the rally being held downtown regarding the shooting?
BPD is aware that there is a rally or a demonstration planned this evening, and we understand that there are questions. We understand that there are emotions that are high with many people, particularly family members and friends of Peyton. That is extremely understandable. And the Boise Police Department's officers are committed to protecting everyone's right to the freedom of expression that they have and are guaranteed under our Constitution.
Is
So
there going
we...
to be a police presence at the rally?
There will certainly be a police presence because we feel it important to ensure people's safety as they express themselves and as they demonstrate or rally or protest or whatever they may have in mind to do. We have not received any information that there is anything illegal planned tonight, and we don't expect that to happen. We would ask that everyone be safe, that it is an American's God-given right and constitutionally protected right to protest and to have their grievances addressed. And so we will do everything in our power to facilitate that, to allow them to exercise those rights tonight.
Chief, if you don't know whether the officers followed protocol, what is protocol in situations like this, and was there another way to stop him?
So process-wise, or what is, make sure I understand the question appropriately, what is the policy governing things like chasing people? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
yeah, so
asking?
Or like discharging a weapon, what conditions have to be met for an officer to be able to discharge a weapon?
Generally speaking, the laws governing the use of deadly force are fairly clear-cut. An officer would need to feel threatened and believe that he or she is in imminent danger, or they may feel that another person is in imminent danger or being threatened. And in order for deadly force to be used, those conditions would need to be met if that force is justified. And that's a pretty simple explanation. Certainly there's more to it than that, but just from a layman's point of view, that's really what it takes. If you're threatened, your life is threatened, you feel it's threatened, or you're protecting the life of someone else, then deadly force can be justified under those circumstances.
Are there any conditions that are exceptions to that if there's, if they were to know something more about someone's background, considered dangerous and armed and things of that nature, or does that basically kind of a blanket qualification for having to do that in public?
Certainly, an officer is tasked with taking everything into account and taking all information that they have under advisement or into account when they make a decision to deploy deadly force. And that can include everything they know or everything they understand about the subject, the conditions, what's behind them, what the backdrop is, where crowds are, all of those things we would expect an officer to take into account. And an officer with our department or any department, I believe, is tasked with safety in our community. And that's our number one goal, is that our community is safe and frankly feels safe. And so we will do everything within our power and within the law and within policy that we can do to ensure public safety. Our community is one made up of families and individuals and people who are part of a larger group, and we are part of that group as well. That is what makes a community, and we are committed to working with our community to provide policing services to our community and to ensuring safety for everyone. These incidents, like this one we're discussing today, are tragic in nature, as I have mentioned before, and my heart goes out to the family of Payton for their loss. And I understand frustration, I understand anger, I understand questioning, and I hope that what we've provided today can answer some of those questions. Our detectives have been in contact with Payton's family shortly after the incident took place, and it is never a good day for anyone when you have to tell a mother or a father or a brother or a sister that their loved one is deceased or is severely injured, and it may not end well. That's never a good day for anyone involved, but I would like to specifically focus on the Wasson family at this time, because they are the ones who have lost their son and their brother and their loved one. So while we could what if things all day long, I think the important thing to focus on and stress is that this incident was indeed a tragedy in our community, and we are committed to finding out the answers to all of those questions and providing them. And I would also just encourage some patience as we go through the process, because we are committed to integrity in the process, accountability in the process, but most of all, we need to let the process take its course, while at the same time recognizing that there is a family grieving during this process.
Is that what you would say to members of the public who may have lost a little bit of confidence in the police department after the situation?
That's certainly my plea, is that people understand we are going to do the best we can to answer questions, to conduct a process that is fair and follows all of the rules of integrity. And as we do that, please provide a little bit of patience, but understand we will share information as soon as we can, as soon as it's available for release. I appreciate all of your questions. One more and I will have to go.
Did all of the officers involved in this incident have their body cameras on?
Again, that's a question I do not know the answer to. I believe that I know there was body camera footage of the event. I don't know if every officer on the scene had their body camera running. That again will be answered through the CITF investigation. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. We will share more information as we can, but once again, just reiterating The Ada County Critical Incident Task Force is responsible for the criminal investigation, and they are the ones that will release once that process is complete. And probably to finish the answer about CITF, once that investigation is complete, it is sent to the Ada County Prosecutor's Office, who then generally refers it to an out-of-county prosecutor for review to see if there are any criminal charges warranted based on the evidence that is collected. Thank you.
Thank you.